Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Fitness Simplified podcast with me, your host, Connor. Now, I've been a coach for the last 10 years and I've been into fitness and training for about 25 years at this point. Started off with gymnastics, moved into free running, and then went into weight training at the age of about 14. And throughout my years, there's a lot of mistakes that I have learned. So, in the first episode of my brand new podcast, I'm going over the 10 things that I have been taught over the last decade of weight training. Grab a paper, grab a pen, and get ready to take some notes because there's a lot of information in this episode and I really hope that you enjoy it. Let's get into it. At this point in time, I'm 30 years old and I've been into weightlifting since I was about 14. Started with at-home workouts with my brother whilst he was training for the army. But before then, I was in gymnastics and did free running for about 7 years. So I've always been fairly active. And in my 15 plus years into fitness and weightlifting and training, I've made a lot of mistakes. So today I'm going to give you the 10 things that I have learned over my decade and a half's worth of weight training. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So number one is going to be starting is the hardest part. And I think we can all relate to this. At the beginning of any journey, when there's no momentum, there's no progress being made, and you're really venturing into the unknown, it's relatively hard to start. I mean, it's no shock that only 16% of the UK have gym memberships. And of those people, the average gym goer attends the gym maybe once a week. And I think this is down to a few things. It's down to a lack of knowledge, a lot of fear, and just looking silly in the gym, which you shouldn't do because we all look silly when we first start. I mean, God forbid I've made a ton of mistakes. I've fallen off benches. I've had equipment hit me in the head. Even to this day, working as a personal trainer and a coach, I've had a bar drop on me in the middle of a gym in my work uniform. So, looking silly, not really the be all and end all of your fitness journey. I mean, when is the last time that you really noticed anyone else do anything embarrassing? If I said to you, think back to school or let's say your early 20s. What's one thing that you can say that someone did that really was embarrassing for them? You probably couldn't remember, right? And the same can be said for you. When you're in the gym, no one gives a shit about you. Now, there will be a very small subsect of people that do. They're what we call dickheads, and you don't really need to worry about them. But the vast majority, we're talking 99% of gym goers, are there to better themselves, and they're pretty much egotistical. They give a shit about themselves. They're looking at themselves in the mirror. They're focusing on their own training, whether or not they're progressing, whether or not they're doing things right. And they're probably under the same fear that you are, that people are looking at them. It never really goes away. You just learn to get used to it. But let's touch on the first two: fear of the unknown and lack of knowledge. Pretty much that's what this podcast is about, to give you the knowledge so that you can go into the gym with a lot more confidence, so you know what you're doing. However, you have to be willing to not know what you're doing in the first place in order to progress. And then fear of the unknown. All right, this is a journey that you're setting yourself on, which you don't know where it leads to. But I can assure you now that nothing but positivity can come from going to the gym. And it's not just about improving your physique, getting a better body. It's mindset, confidence, your ability to work through hard times and delayed gratification. All of these things have such a transitional impact outside of the gym, above your physique. So when it comes to starting the gym, yes, you're going to have no momentum, but that gives you the prime opportunity to make fucking enormous progress. I mean, if you're someone that is untrained entirely, your newbie gains are going to take you further than, let's say, I will make at this stage in my lifting career, because I've been training for over 10 years. This is your playground, your blank canvas to do whatever you want. So there are a ton of resources out there. Also, you have YouTube videos, you have Instagram, you have all of this knowledge at your fingertips, and it's so easy to use, but people overcomplicate it. Really, all you need to do is just step foot into the gym. The hardest part is going to be signing up for the gym. The second hardest part is going to be showing up for your first session. Once you've done that and you show competence in doing so, you then give yourself, how am I trying to word this? I like Alex Hormozy's quote when he says, "You aren't the affirmations you shout at yourself in the mirror. You are the stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are." If you attend the gym regularly, 2-3 times a week, no more than that, half an hour each single day, you prove to yourself that you are this person. But you have to go through the beginning stages of stuck, of not knowing what that is. And that's really the biggest part for me anyway, was actually just stepping foot into a gym. Now, I've never really been embarrassed going into a gym. Mine was just down to pure laziness. But for some people, it is embarrassment. But that initial stage of getting yourself into the gym, yeah, that's the hardest part. But once you get over that, it then becomes so much easier. And once you get rid of the fear of judgment, it then becomes exponentially easier. So if you're on the fence, the biggest step that you can make right now is just getting into the gym. Doesn't matter if you just sign up and go for a walk on the treadmill for 5-10 minutes. You're proving to yourself that you are who you say you are. And that's someone that does this, that commits to bettering themselves, body and mind. The second is a big one. It's set your goals and stay focused. So, do you want to lose weight? Do you want to build muscle? Now, in terms of training, it's not really going to have an impact on the training program you run, the workouts that you do, the exercise selection, nothing. It really is dependent on your calorie intake. So the reason it's so important to have your goal focused, even in terms of like lifting goals, do you want to hit certain lifts, is twofold, right? So if we think of your calorie, the demand that you'll have in terms of calories, that is going to be dependent on what your goal is. So it's important to say to yourself, right, am I going to bulk or am I going to cut? Or am I going to recomp? Which, if you're in your early stages of training, a recomp is going to be more sustainable, more realistic, and more beneficial for you than going on a dedicated cut or bulk, right? So the reason that is important is that if you are trying to lose weight, there's no point eating at a maintenance or eating a surplus, right? If you're doing that, it's counterintuitive. On the other hand, if you're looking to gain size or strength, then, eating in a deficit is, again, counterintuitive. So have your goal and focus on it, because then it gives you the ability to figure out where your calorie demand needs to be set. In terms of setting yourselves goals in terms of like performance-wise, even just attendance-wise, it gives you milestones to hit. So let's say, for example, let's take it into the context of fat loss. Let's say you have 10 kilos of fat to lose, and it's probably more than that because people underestimate how much weight they actually need to lose, and they overestimate how much muscle they can actually gain or have. Okay, so let's say you have 10 kilos that you want to lose. Your goal should not be to lose 10 kilos. Your goal should just be to lose 1 kilo and do that 10 times. It gives you a milestone to hit, right? And that is crucially important when you're on this journey, especially when you're new to the gym, is that you need these easy wins. And an easy win could be, okay, for the first month, I'm just going to go to the gym twice a week and walk on the treadmill for 15 minutes. Cool. If that's your goal, that's fantastic, because every time you show up to the gym, again, back to point one, you're proving to yourself that you are who you say you are. And every single time you hit one of those sessions and you tick it off your list, it gives you such a rush of dopamine, and then that exponentially grows. So it can be as simple as just setting an attendance goal. I'm going to go to the gym twice a week and do whatever, because the big important thing is just getting into the gym. In terms of lifting goals, okay, what do you want to lift? Make it realistic. Jordan Peterson says that when you're setting yourselves goals, it needs to be outside of your comfort zone, but within realistic ability to achieve it. So if I'm new to the gym, I've never lifted before, me saying to myself, I want to bench 100 kilos. Okay, cool. What is the probability of that happening? If I can only bench 40 kilos right now, 100 kilos could seem like a mammoth of a task. And in some cases, that could demoralize you because you won't make the progress that you think you will, or hit the targets that you think you would. Having that end goal is fantastic. For me, I'd love to be able to hit a 200 kilo bench, and I do plan to hit that within the next year. But at the moment, my goal is just to bench 5 kilos than I am right now, and then just continuously repeat that until I hit my end goal. Because those little milestones, again, are what keeps you coming back. It's proven success. So it's important to have that goal in mind so you get your calorie demand, but you also get your milestones that you can hit to keep you coming back to the gym, to prove that you are successful in this journey. Number 3 is going to be learn the basics before adding weight. Now, this is a fucking big one, especially for you young lads out there. I know, God, I fucking know your ego gets the better of you because it did with me. I've lived through it. But you need to understand that when you're going into the gym, we're not performing exercises, we're performing movements that our body uses muscles, joints, ligaments, and tendons to perform and complete, right? Before we add weight to any lift, whether it's a bench, squat, deadlift, lat pull downs, bicep curls, you need to understand, 1, how the movement works, and 2, how to perform it correctly and safely before you start adding the weight, because your foundations are key. They are going to be the good habits that you set going forward, and it's going to be much harder to unlearn those bad habits and then relearn new ones than it is just to get it right in the fucking beginning. So when you're going into the gym, this is how I would structure it. Go in, watch some videos, learn how to do the exercises, ask a member of staff, get a coach, right? Go through the basic fundamentals of these exercises. How do I perform a bench press? Where do my feet need to be? What is bracing? How do I do that? What's foot drive? What angle do my arms need to be at? Should I be feeling this type of pain? Okay, it's a little bit too demanding. My form's a little bit off. Let's lower the weight and then, nail that down. All of these factors across every single exercise are so important. For one, building muscle in the right places. If your form is shit, you're going to be engaging muscles that you don't want to. So you're going to be building a really uneven physique. And 2, injury. You don't want to get injured, especially at the beginning, which you're more likely to because your body is so untrained and unused to these loads that the risk of injury is so great in these early stages, right? So give yourself the best foundations. If we were building a house, we would focus 50% of the time on getting the foundations absolutely 100% perfect before we even lay a brick. So half of the time of building a house is spent solely on the foundation. Then you have, okay, let's lay the bricks. Let's put the windows in. Let's put the doors in. Let's add the floors, installation. Before all of that, you focus on the foundations because without that, if you have a shit foundation, it doesn't matter how perfect everything else is, it will crumble under pressure, right? And again, like I said, I know what you guys are like. It's so tempting, especially with the types of people you see on Instagram now. I mean, there's fucking, 17, 18-year-old kids in America that are benching more than me, squatting more than me, deadlifting more than me. But that could lead to you just being like, cool, I want to jump into it. I want to lift as heavy as possible. I want to do this, that, and that. And then you end up getting injured. And that leads to 1 or 2 things. 1, you don't go back to the gym because you got injured and you're a little bit worried about it. Or 2, it just leads to you having dog shit form going forward, which, I'm not going to lie, it just makes you look like a bit of a dickhead, right? To everyone else and yourself. Okay, so set the foundations, get them nailed in 100%, and then you can start to implement progressive overload, which is adding more weight or more reps, doing more sets, less rest time, all of that. Then you can add that stuff in, but make sure you get your fundamentals down. That is crucial. Number 4 is going to be stick to one program for at least 4 to 6 months. Program hopping is relevant or rife. Program hopping is so common in the gym culture. And within the last 6 months, so I've been a coach for the last year, I'd say, but I've been full-time for the last, I'd say, four months. And it gives me the ability to talk to a lot of people in the gym of all experience levels. And one common trait that I see among all those that are strong, that have a really good fucking physique, and that have been in the gym the longest, is that they don't change their program up that often, me included. The reason you don't want to do this is because one, when we think of implementing progressive overload, it needs to be done over a long period of time, right? How can you implement progressive overload if you're changing your workouts week to week? If you're doing bench one week, then chest flies the next week, then incline dumbbell press the next week, and then incline press the week before, and then fucking Arnold press or any other chest movement. How can you implement progressive overload if you aren't repeating the same exercises all the time? It's all about consistency. So you need to be running the same program for 4 to 6 months. Okay, this does a few things. One, it allows you to implement progressive overload, because if you're starting with bench every single session and you hit 3 sets of 6, you now know that you can take it up to 3 sets of 7, 3 sets of 8, increase the weight, bring the reps down. That's progressive overload. You can't do that if the bench is first one session and then dead last the next. Your energy demand is going to be spent. So you're not going to be able to perform anywhere near as good as if it was the first movement you perform. Secondly, it's all about learning the exercises, again, with the fundamentals. Running a program for 4 to 6 months, you have the ability to actually really learn these exercises, perform them perfectly. Again, if we're just program hopping week to week, it doesn't give you that ability. And not only that, it just, a funny word to use, it discombobulates your training, right? So make sure that when you're on your program, you're running it for a long time. Because the majority of the people that I see, I'd say the majority of the people, the vast majority of the people that I talk to at the gym that were on a different program the week prior to when I was talking to them, it's all people that don't make progress that look the exact same year on, year out. It is only those that stick to the programming for a prolonged period of time that actually make progress, because you give your body the ability to progress. Now, if there are exercises that you genuinely don't enjoy, then yeah, you can swap them out. But I would say as long as 80% of your workout is the exact same, then you're in a golden spot to make as much progress as possible, right? So that's key. Don't program hop. You need to be sticking to it to make progress and to actually see how you respond to certain exercises. But it's okay to change a few if you need to. Now, number 5 is going to be not every week is perfect, right? This is something that I still struggle with now. Not every week is going to be the exact same, and this goes in all rounds. One week you may be able to train 5 times. The next week you may only be able to train 3. That's okay. If life gets in the way, that happens to virtually everybody. So have the expectation that when you can perform at your best, and give 100%, do it. But if life gets in the way and you can only give 40%, and you give that 40%, well, you've actually given 100% of your maximum efforts available, right? So just understand, sometimes life gets in the way, your program will need to adjust. That's not a problem. If you miss the gym due to laziness, now that is an issue in and of itself. That needs to be addressed, right? Get to the fucking gym and just train. Life will get in the way. That's fine, okay? When we talk about performance, when you're dieting, this is more so the case, that where your energy expenditure is so high, but your energy intake is so low, calories in versus calories out, your performance will drop. And it's not like a gradual drop, it's a very steady drop and then off a fucking cliff, right? When you're dieting, that's going to be the case. Expect that. Even if you're in the most optimal, let's say, physiology, you've drank 4 liters of water, you've got your pre-workout meal in, you've had a good amount of carbs, you're eating right, it's all whole foods, you're not binging, you're not eating processed shit all the time, you're feeling good, you just may go into the gym and perform shit. Sometimes it does happen. It happened with a client of mine yesterday, for example. So I'm recording this on the 18th of June. 17th of June, had a client in. She was well fed. She was feeling strong. Her warm-up sets were absolutely flying. We got to a working weight, and she couldn't even get 2 reps up. She did 1. That was it. She was then concerned. I'm going backwards. I'm like, pause right there. 2 months ago, we had this exact same issue. You came in, you didn't perform as well as you did the week before. We adjusted the program. We took the weights down a little bit. The following week, what happened? And then she was like, well, I lifted more than I did at my absolute best. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Right? And bearing in mind, it was only the one exercise. It was deadlifts that she couldn't do. Everything else in the workout was an increase. We went up in Jesus Christ, there's the list coming in. We went up in either reps or weight or sets. It's not always going to be linear, right? So you may fail at one exercise, but you may progress in 3 others. It's important to have that view on your training, that you could be at the absolute, you could be at your absolute most optimal and still not perform in the exercises that you want to. That's okay. It happens. If it happens continuously, weeks on, then something may need to be addressed. There's definitely a hole in either your programming, your nutrition, or your recovery, or your sleep that you're not aware of. And it's important to, acknowledge those and correct them when you see them. But it's also important to assess your programming, and this is why it's important to run the same program, is that you can look back over the last 3 weeks and be like, cool, okay, I've not progressed in this one exercise, but everything else has increased. Okay, cool. You had a shit exercise, that was it. Don't say you had a bad workout or a bad week because of one exercise, but just expect that it's not always going to be perfect. Progress can sometimes look linear, but it's not always. So just be realistic with it. Number 6 is going to be more progress happens outside the gym than it does inside the gym. Now, a lot of people focus so much on their workouts, their programming, optimizing, am I lifting more? And that's good. That really is, because that's important. It's a very important aspect to making progress. But I'd say that's about 20% of the progress that you'll actually make. When we're in the gym and we're trying to build muscle, all we're doing in the gym is breaking down muscle fibers that then outside the gym, via nutrition, sleep, and adequate recovery, they will repair and get bigger. That's how muscle is gained. You break down a muscle fiber, it then repairs, gets stronger to handle the higher loads. And that's where progressive overload comes in. Too many people focus on the 20%, not the 80%. They'll focus so much on their performance, getting pre-workouts in, getting their pre-workout meal in, optimizing carb intake. But then they'll go home and smash a monster down at 6 p.m. and get fuck all sleep. Your sleep has such an impact on your recovery and the progress that you can make, but it's the one thing that most people overlook. Hydration is another big one. And again, this is something that I've recently struggled with. My hydration hasn't been the best. I thought it was, but it wasn't. And I suffered from a lot of bloating over the past couple of weeks. And it wasn't until I just upped my water intake. So rather than doing a bunch of cardio to kind of help with the bloating and bring it down a little bit, all I did was up my water intake from about 2 litres to 4. Now, the bloating went away instantly. And I've had better training sessions, better recovery, better focus whilst I'm in the gym. But how many people neglect your water intake as well? Probably a lot of you out there. So many people are underhydrated and over-caffeinated. And I think that's a real big issue. We are underslept, underhydrated, but we're overly caffeinated and overly fed. These two things, being overly caffeinated and overly fed, will not compensate for the fact that you're neglecting all of the important other aspects of recovery: sleep, hydration, stress. All of these things, they need to be taken into account as well. So although it's good to focus on the gym, what you're doing in the gym, and optimizing gym performance via whatever it is you want to use, pre-workouts, carb loading before the gym, it's also to take that same amount of energy and apply it to outside the gym. Are you getting 6 to 8 hours of decent quality sleep? Are you hydrating yourself? Are you getting in your micro and your nutrients, right? So are you eating your 5 a day? All of these things have more of an impact on the progress that you make than just benching more than you did the week before. So focus on the 80% outside the gym, because you're in the gym an hour a day. Out of 23 hours, out of 24 hours, you're in the gym an hour. 23 hours outside. That is the crucial part. That's the make or break of whether or not you'll make progress. But too many of you are neglecting that. So make sure that your hydration's on point, your sleep is on point, you're getting your vitamins and your minerals in, you're getting your nutrients, as well as the training. You'll make a lot more progress and you'll make it a lot faster. Number 7, cardio isn't just for fat loss. Now, cardio is a very good tool in order to reduce body fat, right? And cardio itself doesn't reduce body fat, but it allows you to put yourself into a calorie deficit, right? So if we have our maintenance, we want to go 10% lower than that to start losing weight. You can do that via eating 1,800 calories, which is 10% less, or by expending 200 calories more, giving you that 10% deficit. And you can do that via steps or by cardio. Cardio is the one that I opt for because it's convenient for me and I like the Stairmaster. But it isn't just for fat loss. Cardiovascular health and how it affects performance is also vital. So when we look at performance, there's a few things that affect how we actually perform in the gym, right? So we have energy intake, so whether you've got enough calories in you, right? You've got hydration, because when we intake carbs, that's then broken down into glucose, and some of that is stored as glycogen in the muscles, but it needs water to bind to it in order to then travel and be stored in the muscles. If you're underhydrated, it just won't be as efficient, right? So that's one aspect that affects training, right? Then we have sleep as well, which we spoke about. But a big factor is your muscles need oxygenated blood in order to perform efficiently, right? So if we can get oxygenated blood to the muscles quicker, we perform better. Okay, how can we do that? Well, we improve your cardiovascular health, and that can be done via cardio. Now, this can look like a light jog. This can look like going on the Stairmaster. This can look like the rowing machine. This can look like the bike. This can look like HIIT training. Okay, so like Tabata, 10 seconds off, or a minute on, 10 seconds off, whatever Tabata is. It's been a while since I've done it, to be fair. Could look like anything like that, right? But people solely focus on cardiovascular or cardio as a fat burning tool, right? It's not. It's also a performance tool. So it's crucial that even when you're not in a dieting phase, that you are implementing cardio into your workouts, whether that's low intensity steady state, walking on the treadmill for 15 to 20 minutes, going on the Stairmaster, light impact, or via HIIT, high intensity interval training. This is like circuit classes, Tabata, that sort of stuff. It's all going to benefit you. Gets blood to the muscles quicker and improves the efficiency of your heart health in order to function better during your exercises. Number 8 is going to be, and this is a crucial one, especially if you're new, because a lot of people struggle with this, is that the gym needs to fit around your life and not your life around the gym. So whenever I get a new client and I'm in a consultation with them, the first thing I ask them is, how many times can you realistically commit to the gym every single week? And they'll say to me, about 4. And I'm like, right, is that the ideal or is that realistic? Let's say on your worst week, you're really busy, you've got the kids, doing overtime at work. What would you be able to realistically do in that situation? Ooh, probably only 3 in that case. Cool. Then we base your program off of 3 sessions a week, and if we can get a 4th in, it's an added bonus, but it isn't required for the program to function. Too many times people will overcommit, right? Especially when it comes to the New Year's. I'm going to go to the gym every single day. Motherfucker, I don't even go to the gym every single day. I don't train every single day. I am at the gym every single day due to work, but I don't train every single day. I train 5 days a week. And that is someone that has a very free schedule. All I do is coach. That is my full-time job. So I'm in the gym anyway. It's very easy for me to get to the gym. So if I'm committing to 5 days a week, how the fuck can someone who's a full-time parent with a full-time job, with other responsibilities, and maintaining a social life, how the fuck are you going to do the exact same as me? You won't. But too many people will overcommit. I'm going to go 5-6 days a week. They'll do it for the first 1, maybe 2 weeks, but then life gets in the way. And again, this is what we spoke about earlier, by not every week's going to be perfect. Life will get in the way. Maybe their kid's sick from school. Maybe they have a really stressful day from work. Maybe they're doing overtime at work and they can't get a gym session in. You're going to feel much more demoralized by missing a training session than you are by adding one in. Right? So James Smith talks a lot about this, and the example that he uses is like, you'll feel a lot more pain in losing £10 than you will finding £10. If you were walking down the street and you checked your wallet and you're like, for fuck's sake, I've lost a tenner, that's going to impact you and hurt you way more than if you were walking down the street and you picked a tenner up off the floor. Right? So when it comes to setting your gym program, getting into the gym, base it on your worst week possible, because then even when life gets in the way, you can still commit to what you've committed to. And anything above that is nothing but a bonus, which is only then going to spur you on to do more, because it's more motivating. But far too often, people will be like, 5-6 days a week, get to 2 weeks in, life gets in the way, and then they don't go to the gym, and then they missed a few sessions. They feel like shit for doing it, because they're like, I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. then they just stop going. It happens so many times. And I've spoken to so many people that this has happened to. So when it comes, fit the gym around your social life, okay? Or fit the gym around your life. And this includes your social life. You shouldn't be missing out on, family events, evening out with friends. You shouldn't be missing these things just to go to the fucking gym. Now, are there going to be times that you need to lock in? Yeah. But it shouldn't be the default. It should be something you do for a very short period of time before then, opening your life back up. One thing that I've struggled with, especially over the last, I'd say 2 months, is that I've gotten so heavily into optimizing everything that the one thing that I neglected the most was my social life. And it wasn't until the weekend just gone that I was sat there on a Saturday with nothing to do, sun was shining, all of my friends had already made plans, and they were already busy. I missed out on that because I was so busy with work and getting into the gym and hitting every single session and being perfect that I didn't see the fucking messages in the group chat. And I missed out on a day with my friends. I looked back over the last 2 months, and that has been something that I've done consistently. So at the expense of my social life, I've got into really good shape, I've gotten strong, and I've had a really good, solid 2 months in the gym, the best I've ever had, at the expense of my social life. And one thing that I'm trying to do now is rein that in a little bit and be like, doesn't have to be perfect 100% of the time, right? The gym, should be a benefit, a bonus to your life. It shouldn't be what takes away from it. So just remember that, right? You shouldn't be missing really important life events because you're at the gym to get a fucking arm workout in, right? You can add that on to another session. You can go another day. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't have to sacrifice your life for this, right? Fit the gym around your life, not the other way around. That is going to be, when it comes to sustainability and adherence to the actual program, because remember, this isn't a habit that we're doing for a short period of time. These are lifestyle changes that we're hopefully taking on for the rest of our lives. This is important to do that. Number 9 is the 3-set rule. So this is something that I heard years and years and years ago, and it's a very good exercise to do for those of you that are really feeling that you don't want to go to the gym. So let's say you have a really stressful day at work, and you haven't really eaten that much, you had shit sleep the night before, and you don't want to go to the gym. It's so easy at that point to be like, fuck it, I'm going home and I'm not doing this. Because the whole idea of completing a 45 to 60 minute gym session is so fucking daunting. And this is where the 3-set rule comes in, right? Go into the gym, even on days, especially days that you feel like this. Go into the gym and just say to yourself, I'm just going to do the first 3 sets of the first exercise. That's it. That's all I'm committing to. If after those 3 sets, I still feel like this, I'm going home. At least then you can say you've tried. 9 times out of 10, when I've done this, I've completed the whole workout. Because once you're in the gym and you get past that, and the hardest part is going to be getting into the gym and starting. Follow up with point 1. When you get into the gym, you do your sets, you'll find that you're just much more motivated to carry on. And you're not as exhausted as you think you are. You actually gain a lot of energy from doing it. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, you finish the workout. That, committing to just 3 sets of one exercise, is a lot easier for a lot of people to deal with than a whole workout. So when you are exhausted, you've had a shit day at work, shit day with your partner, you've not eaten, you've not slept, committing to just 3 sets, do that. Because it's going to take you so much further than just not going to the gym. I kind of like the saying, like, the only bad workout is a missed workout. Yeah, that is true. Like, if you're in the gym doing something, it's better than doing nothing. Absolutely. But this just gives you a very easy, entry level. It brings down the barrier. So you're not thinking I have to finish a whole workout. You're just thinking I have to do 3 sets. That's it. And then you have the option to go home if you want to. But at least you can then say to yourself, do you know what? I fucking tried. I went in. I did it anyway. And I just wasn't feeling it. That's more than 99% of people can say. Be part of that 1%. And the last point is that fun is always better than being optimal. kind of like what I just spoke about in the last few points about my experience of being optimal in the gym. Now, I have had a lot of fun in the gym and it's optimal, but at the same time, it's very unsustainable because of the social life aspect that I've neglected. But it also comes down to the program that you're running, the exercises that you choose, nutrition, everything. Me and my housemate, he's really into the gym as well. Knows a lot more than I do. Me and him will butt heads all the time because he is so optimal focused, right? For him, it's how can I maximize my workout in the shortest amount of time and get the most amount of progress out of it? For me, I'm more along the lines of, okay, being optimal is good, but if I hate the program that I'm running, that is the most optimal, that will give me the best results, and I do it 50% of the time, well, how is that more beneficial than me running a program that is 75% optimal, but I enjoy doing it and I run it 100% of the time? That's where our minds differ. His is more focused for, elite level, top performing athletes. That's how his mind works. Mine is more for the average everyday person. And I fit into that category. For me, just because a program is optimal, it doesn't fucking matter. If you're not doing the program, how is it optimal? It isn't. The most optimal program is the one that you can adhere to and you enjoy doing. So when it comes to your program selection, I'd say about 10 to 15% of the exercises are going to be exercises that you generally fucking don't like, but you have to do them because they are of benefit, right? I'm a powerlifter. I fucking hate squatting. At the moment, really do not enjoy doing it. Am I going to do it? Yeah, because one of the fucking lifts that I have to perform is the squat. Does it make me hate my leg day? Not really. I just don't like that exercise. But every other exercise in my training program, I thoroughly fucking enjoy. So, there are going to be cases where you have to do things that you don't enjoy. But as long as the vast majority of your program is set up to that, it's maximizing your enjoyment and it increases the likelihood of you getting into the gym, that's more important than doing the most optimal exercises. And the same thing goes for nutrition. It's why I always give all of my clients 20% of their calories at the end of every single day. 20% of your calories are used on whatever you want, right? So let's say you're on 2,000 calories a day. 400 of your calories every single day have whatever you want. Whether it's a glass of wine, whether it's a beer, whether it's a tub of Halo Top ice cream, which fits within 400 calories, have it. Because if I can get your diet 80% good, but it's something that you can do 100% of the time, that's going to be much more beneficial for you getting results and you sustaining and adhering to that diet than if I was to give you a diet that's 100% perfect that after the first week you give up on. Does that make sense? Optimal is important, but it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all, right? The most important program, the most important diet is the one that you can adhere to, and that comes down to enjoyability. If you hate what you are doing, you will not do the very thing you need to do to make progress. So if you can go to 80%, but you hit it 100% of the time, that's much better than hitting 100% optimization and only hitting it 20% of the time. And that's it. So these are just a few things that I have picked up over my decade and a half of training. Hopefully, it's helped and you've learned something from it. There's a lot of mistakes that I've made in the gym, but I now have the ability as a coach and, with the creation of streaming platforms and podcasting platforms, I now have the ability to teach you the mistakes that I made so you don't have to make them. Essentially, I'm fast forwarding your progress because I'm simplifying everything and just telling you to avoid the potholes along the road. Are you going to make mistakes? Yes. Everyone does. But that's part of the progress. It's like a canon event for every gym goer. You'll look back in a year's time thinking, what the fuck was I doing? But you'll be glad that you did it. So, really appreciate you listening. Hopefully you can take something away from this podcast. This is Fitness Simplified, and I'll see you in the next episode.